All right, good evening, everyone. We will call this October 5th North College Hill City Council meeting to order by beginning with our prayer for the Ncaa City Council. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen. Now call this meeting to order. I'll share my screen so we can do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Ms. Bailey says that the link is not working for her. So go ahead and call the roll, please, Ms. Dewald. You need to unmute yourself.
Ms. Bailey. Ms. Underwood. Here. Mr. Miller Novak.
Here.
Ms. Zorb.
Here.
Ms. Hartman.
Here.
Okay, I have 4 members present. We are waiting for Ms. Bailey, I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Keith, is there anything you can do to help her?
And really the only thing that I could suggest is calling into the call-in number, coming in that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Looks like she just did that. She's in.
Oh, okay.
Hi guys, sorry, I couldn't find the right link. I'm here.
I have Ms. Bailey as present.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you do have tonight's agenda.
President? Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that motion.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Zorb with a second from Ms. Underwood. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak.
Yes.
Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Hartman. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right. We also have the minutes from the September 21st, 2020 meeting.
President,
Ms. Underwood?
there was just a typo that I found. It was on page 3 under old business where it says you would defiantly need the supermajority, probably should read definitely, right?
I would assume so.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWolf.
the words that I have here for Mr. Dieter are taken verbatim from the movie, quote, the movie. So I would not want to interject words in here that weren't spoken.
Okay.
Did he say defiantly or did he say definitely?
I didn't catch what you said there. Okay, I will make that definitely. Okay, yeah, that word should be definitely. Thank you. I
I was
will
like,
make that.
did he really say that?
Oh, thank you, Miss Underwood. And thanks for reading them.
You know, I read them.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I had.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes with that slight correction in spelling.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion from Mary Jo Zorb and a second from Erica Underwood to accept the minutes with a spelling correction as amended. Discussion. Please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Orb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Would appear we've lost Ms. Hartman.
Yeah, she dropped out again.
so while we're waiting for a connection, this motion is going to read that it was amended and approved in one fell sweep? Or are we going to cast another vote to adopt?
I'm going to say since all we had was one slight spelling error, I think we're all right to do one.
Excellent.
I did, Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I sent a text to Ms. Hartman. She says she can hear us on the phone. Keith, could you see if she's in a different room, maybe?
I do see a phone number in the attendees list. Keith.
I just let her in.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you, Mr. President.
You hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes. All right, so Ms. Hartman, we were up to your vote on accepting tonight's minutes.
Yes, and I heard everything, and I said yes. I say yes. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Motion
You're
passes.
welcome.
Motion to amend and adopt passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right, that brings us up to communications.
We only have one item of communications tonight, and that is the September Mayor's Court Report.
Did you send that out to us, Ms. DeWolf?
I did send it in an email,
Okay.
and there is a hard copy in everyone's mailbox.
Okay, I must have missed that email then. Which happens from time to time. Thank you.
Okay.
That is all you have to report?
May I ask a question? Maybe I didn't send it. Did anyone else remember receiving this in an email?
I did.
Thank you. Got my back. All righty.
All right, that brings us to committee reports. The first one on the list is budget and finance. Ms. Bailey, you are muted. Ms. Bailey, do you have a report for budget and finance?
I
All
can.
right, well, she's
talking-
showing, but I don't,
Yeah, I can confirm her talking is permitted. She's unmuted.
right, okay. Let's move down to city and community development and recreation.
Mr. Raver,
Ms. Zorb,
may I just step in and say the finance committee has not met since our last council meeting.
okay. And the next meeting is next Monday, correct?
Not know what is planned for the agenda though.
It would be the 12th
Yes,
at 7:30.
yes.
Thank you, Ms. Zorb. City and community development and recreation,
Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald.
that would, Mr. Hedger was the chair, Miss Bailey was the vice chair. So if anyone on the committee was there, looks like it might be Miss Underwood or Miss Zorb if a meeting was held.
All under the
Mr.
same-
President,
They meet
I heard
on-
Ms. Underwood.
the meeting was canceled. Last meeting was canceled.
So the next meeting for this is also 10/12
Yes.
at 6:30. Okay, thank you. Public safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last meeting was held on Monday, September 28th at 7:30 PM. All members were present. The May and August meeting minutes were provided to all the members. We talked briefly about the fire department. We did give an update on the roof. They did get the roof, the repair. We heard that the repair took longer than it should have, but I said that I would follow up with Chief Fells about that. We also reported that the fire department did get their new ambulance. We also briefly discussed the police department. We did not get a report for the month of August. And we discussed possibly providing or requesting a report from the police department as well as the fire department and just outlining specific information that we would ask for in a report. And Mr. Miller Novak just seemed to believe that that shouldn't be a problem getting reports in the future. So I will follow up with the police and the fire department for that. We discussed the speed hump proposal. We still have that proposal from Mr. Hedger about the speed humps. And what our next steps are to review the list of streets in North College Hill that we want to target for speed humps, because we would obviously need, if we go with Mr. Hedger's proposal, we would need to get the buy-in of the residents of those particular streets. And there are some streets that we can probably eliminate ahead of time, such as Simpson, possibly Betts and Savannah. I think. We also discussed that there are speed humps on Bobolink and Edwood right around the corner that could potentially be feasible for North College Hill. The mayor's task force update, the last meeting was canceled and we don't have a new meeting scheduled as of yet. No information about the police task force yet. I will follow up with Mr. Mosby about document formats. That was our old business. Our new business was just about the monthly status reports from the different departments. And also one of the we were discussing the new backhoe and what, we wanted to just kind of ask some more information about that and how that was being funded. So we were going to follow up with Mr. Mosby about that. And our meeting adjourned at approximately 8:02 p.m. And our next meeting is the 4th Monday of September.
That would be 10/26. All right, thank you, Ms. Underwood. Rules and public policy.
Yes. We did hold a brief meeting, and it began with me learning that I was the department chair, the committee chair. And then after people had to talk me through that process with emotional support for about 10 minutes, we moved on to kind of discussing where we want to head in the future as a committee, things we want to work on. We kind of determined that we would start looking into ordinances that we can either amend or in the future kind of addressing ordinances. We feel that some of the glaring discrepancies in the council rules were kind of handled already, and under Mr. O'Shea's leadership, we'd kind of produced the charter. So I think our first order of business is to maybe address the RV issue that we began with Mr. O'Shea. But before that, I think Mr. Mosby is making code enforcement available to us. I know Mr. Knight said he was coming, and then I don't know, is Ron here right now?
He is.
Okay. If I think Ron specifically, the committee also wanted to meet the new agent from XPEX. So if he's available to come in and just say hi and talk a little bit, we'd appreciate that as well. And then that's it.
Okay, thank you. Your next meeting is also 10/26.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President, do you mind if I ask just one quick question of Mr. Miller Novak?
Go ahead, Mr. Mosby.
I apologize, but you said new agent, so I was just trying to determine who you were referring to. Were you referring to Roger Neff?
Yes. We were hoping to meet Mr. Neff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I did tell Bill, and Bill said that he would be available. I guess I can work with Mr. Neff's schedule, because obviously if he comes in, of course, then we have to pay him. So, but we can probably work something around for that day.
All right, thank you. Any ad hoc reports? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the administrative reports. Good evening, Madam Mayor. The floor is yours.
Mr. President, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just have one thing. As you know, October 31st is Halloween. And as we prepare for that, a couple things came up. I had Miss Toll, she's actually doing a survey online to see how many people were interested in actually holding a trunk or treat. We have been in touch with the owners of Roses. They said we could use their property if the residents were interested in a trunk or treat. And there's not any reason why we could or couldn't do both, but the normal regular trick or treating is scheduled from 6 to 8 p.m. on the 31st. We do have some residents who would like to come to do the trunk or treat. So if we get enough interested, we will have that as well. We're just asking that everyone would pre-package their goodies for the kids during the trunk or treat if it were to take place. And if you're interested, if anyone here, if you know anyone who's interested, just have them contact Ms. Toll here at the office or complete the survey. I haven't seen the survey that she put out online and on the website. And that's all I have. Oh, the trunk or treat for the school is canceled. I don't know if I said that before. They did. I don't know if I mentioned that in September, but the trunk or treat that takes place at the school will not happen this year at the school.
Mr. President,
And that's
Ms.
all I
Underwood.
have.
I just have a question for the mayor.
I can't hear you, Ms. Underwood.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So the
You went
trunk or
back
treat.
out.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure why I'm going out. No?
You're not going out on mine, so
I can't hear anyone.
Oh, okay.
now we know where the problem lies.
Sign language, maybe.
I was
Tracy,
just,
mute, there you go.
can you hear me now? No, can't. I don't know what, I don't know why I can. Oh, she said, write the question down. I can text her the question. I'm just wondering with the trunk or treat, is that like for like everybody just to kind of sign up, or how will that work? I'm just wondering how that will work.
We initially said that it was for everyone. If you would like to do it, that's why we want you to get in touch with her. Because if we get enough numbers, we're not opposed to having different times, so we won't have a whole lot of people gathering at the same time. So let's say if we get 50 people who might want to sign up to do it, we thought about splitting the hours 2 per, like 25 cars. And actually that space could hold the 50 cars, but we just, with social distancing, I don't know how we would do that if we did all 50 cars at the same time. That's why we wanted to get an idea and get a nice number of people. I know we talked about having like a registration that, you don't pay or anything, just so we can have a number, a nice head count. I know they have tons of kids that come out to it at the high school, tons of kids. So, just to get an idea.
Would they be willing to allow you to hold it at the high school?
They're not doing it this year, it's canceled.
I know, but could you hold one at the high school instead of
No,
Rose's?
that's what, it's not there.
Oh.
I understood that, don't quote me, but someone said to me, Mr. Blaylock didn't want to take on that responsibility. He didn't want to have anything there
Okay,
this year. Because theirs is more so inside. They have the kids
Oh.
coming in
Mhm.
inside more so than outside.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald.
Mayor Nichols, I just wanted to clarify, the community would still be available to have both trunk or treat and to walk around. I don't know why they'd want to walk around if they can do it all in one spot, but some kids
Yes,
love it.
because some of the feedback that Ms. Toll got was that there were people who still wanted to see the kids at their homes, but we're
Oh,
asking
yeah.
that people still follow guidelines, safety guidelines. I'm just suggesting that people pre-package, don't allow the kids to put their hands in the bags. If they have tables, set it out, that they would hand it 1 or 2 pieces at a time. I know sometimes I've seen them put out a bucket on the table and the kids take what they want. We're just asking
Right.
that, make it a little bit more safer for the kids.
And maybe we could even
Because any candy
recommend,
that we package here or plan to hand out during the trunk or treat, we're going to pre-package in little bags.
right, and maybe we could even recommend to the homeowners that they could just cover their hands with, plastic gloves and hand it out that way. So, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for the mayor? All right, thank you, Mayor Nichols. Next up is the city administrator, Mr. Mosby.
A moment, please.
You're off mute. I can hear you now.
Right. Okay. So just a couple of updates, Mr. President. Number one, I know that there was some discussion today about the some of the street calming measures. I did want everyone to know that that we're already underway with that particular project. The engineer has already laid out or is already conducting the traffic counts and traffic speeds for Galbraith Road. And so after that, of course, they'll do the traffic analysis. And so then after those two things are completed, we ought to be getting a final evaluation with appropriate recommendations. I do think that that would be important to obtain, certainly before making, I think before making any other decisions, even about some of our non-thoroughfare streets, which would be, the smaller streets, because that will, at least the ones off of Galbraith, will help us. We'll be able to see how to, if there are recommendations that they have to better manage some of the traffic off of Galbraith Road. We are entering, of course, the last quarter of the year, so financially, obviously, we're still very much looking at where we are as far as revenues are concerned. I do know that we did take a pretty big, we're anticipating taking a pretty big hit this month, which was a bit of a surprise, but it's about the same hit that we took back in May, which was about $100,000 less than what we had anticipated originally, or excuse me, $100,000 less than what we had received the year prior. And so having said that, we've clearly already been on a very pretty diligent fiscal watch as far as our expenses are concerned. So I did want to make sure that everyone had that in mind. And obviously, each of you has a working copy of the proposed budget that Ms. Hall had already presented. So hopefully between now and, of course, before the end of the year, we're hoping that there will be that will be finalized so that we can actually enter into 2021 with a budget. This past weekend, I went out and I was basically really going around and picking up bills, quite frankly, off of telephone poles, which I did from several telephone poles, mostly on Galbraith Road. But something did occur to me as I was outside doing it, and that was that, I know a lot of past few weeks, I've heard a lot of feedback regarding the city, regarding the condition of the city, specifically things like trash. And it occurred to me that two things that I know that usually come to mind with people, which are, enforcement and having more personnel out to pick up trash or garbage. Those things, although they could happen, of course, they require more manpower. And what dawned on me is that one of the things that seems to be missing from our city is pride. If we have a collective pride in our city, when people do see the garbage, or if they do see trash that's out on the street, that would be the thing that would cause them to stop and pick it up. It is the little things, as many of the council members have already said, it's the little things that do add up. Those are just simply small investments of our time that I do believe would yield larger or big results, even in the face of fiscal constraints and, you know, some of the challenges that we're having, of course, with COVID-19. And so, you know, that is when I know that this month we have a cleanup that will be occurring on Saturday, October the 24th. I've already reached out. Our office here has reached out to several of the churches. A couple of them have actually expressed gratitude that we did and said that they will absolutely be there. And I truly do hope that that all of us from council and administration will be out there, and you know, we will be part of setting that example of, you know, just being out and doing something that simple, which is picking up some of the trash that's in the city. So I did want to, that was one observation that I absolutely did want to share with the rest of council. And then I guess for myself, concluding, if you will, on a much brighter note, tomorrow is my 36th wedding anniversary with my wife, Cindy. So Wednesday we will be out of pocket. So we will not be available, but we will, not tomorrow, but we will be celebrating on Wednesday. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
First off, congratulations on
Thank you very much.
anniversary. And you mentioned the cleanup day. Do we have a time on that?
Yes, we'll begin at 9 a.m.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mosby?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'm sorry, Ms. Underwood had her hand up.
That's okay, I can wait.
I don't really have a question, but I would like to add to Mr. Mosby's comments. I agree to the pride thing. I think if there was more pride, people wouldn't throw the trash down to begin with. And then there wouldn't be a need for other people to go behind them to pick it up. And that's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes, I just had a question for Mr. Mosby or Mr. President.
Right.
With regard to the cleanup day, I know that when Colerain Township does theirs, they ask that everybody show up in like a yellow t-shirt or something like that. Is there like some kind of color or something that we're asking people to show up and wear for our cleanup day? Or do we have t-shirts or anything like that? I mean, I don't want us to go to any expense for that, but I'm just wondering if there's some kind of something like that. And also just some more information about it. I did see it somewhere, but just like where we're meeting and how that's going to be organized.
Yes, those are all actually very good questions. So to be clear, you're right. Typically, Ms. Underwood, we would have, I believe, shirts, but of course, when we began to put this together, it was a little bit of shorter notice. So we don't have any particular uniform shirts at this particular time. We are clearly going to be making sure that we have plenty of gloves, plenty of bags, you know, the materials that are needed. The time that we'll begin, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be at 9 o'clock. We will assemble safely here at the city center at 1500. I believe the mayor has already said that what we'll do is end up meeting outside. I know that typically, unless it's raining, obviously if it's raining, then we'll make arrangements in here, but we will make sure that we have safe distancing. And then after we're finished, Mickey Whalen from Perkins has already offered to provide some breakfast food for everybody who comes to help, muffins and that kind of thing. They're donating that. And then Crimmers will be also donating some food at the end. So it should be a very good time, but yes, I thank you for those questions, but no, we will not have a uniform t-shirt for this particular one. That is definitely something that we could work on for the next one in the spring. But if I could also, Mr. President, if I could just add, I wholeheartedly agree with Ms. Zorb. It is, and it's frustrating. I mean, I'll tell you that I was frustrated. I was walking down the street, I was picking off those signs. And I know that there is a law, an ordinance against posting bills on our telephone poles. And yet I had to pick them off. It isn't one individual person's fault, but I did ask this question. I thought, does that happen everywhere? And I know I'm pretty positive that that happens in certain areas, such as perhaps Mount Healthy and probably some places of Springfield Township and Colerain Township. But do we see those in necessarily, like Montgomery? Do we see those in Marymount? Do we see those in Indian Hill? And if we don't, why not? And so that's really where I think that just from my own thought, that's where we do have to, and we probably will have to fight a little bit harder. And I don't think that that's a good or a bad thing. I just think that we just have to really come together and make up our minds and determine that we as a community are truly going to turn this community around. I think that there are some great things that are happening right now. Some of them you all have already been made aware of, but and not to go into a lot of detail, just simply to say that the interest in the transit center has certainly picked up, and the good news is it's picked up by the property owner that we have been talking to, who now is interested in in having one put there. So now that's something that I have to actively pursue, which I will keep doing until we get that. But that could mean, obviously, that could be huge. That could be transformational, for our city. And so I just, that's one example, of course, and it's going to take more. But quite frankly, I do agree that if we begin to just start showing more of that interest, pride, and it starts with us, and we show it, I do believe that it will follow. It's not going to be perfect, because again, there's a lot of people that cut through our city. And I know that sadly, those are many of the people who dump the garbage and throw the cups and the garbage out of the cars. And it is frustrating. But I think that if we, again, work together as a community, as a family, I do think that we can overcome it. So thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald.
I'd like to add that, Mr. Mosby, I applaud your efforts on this. I personally know 3 people plus myself who, we have an older gentleman, I'm not going to give names because I don't have permission, who has taken it upon himself. His yard is immaculate. He has taken it upon himself to cut all those houses on Richard from Telford down to Galbraith and made an amazing difference. And some of the homeowners picked up on what he did, and they're keeping their property nicely. Others are thinking, like, when are you coming back? So, and then I also know, I call him a young man, but he's the age of my son, who's, not young. And on Sundays, I think it might be 2 Sundays a month, he takes his Rumpke can on wheels and cleans Galbraith around his property from Clovernook, I don't know how far down. Another woman who religiously walks her dog, and when she does so, there are newspapers or some kind of an ad paper that's thrown out in those pink bags. And if the neighbors leave those, she picks those up and tosses them. So I want to put that out there so people that are listening to this realize that we do have people that are trying. And if a few more people could try, what a remarkable difference that would make.
And Mr. President, if I could just say one more thing, please. Sorry, but I was actually glad that Mr. Wald said something, because actually Mr. Wald, you were actually also another part of that inspiration. I remember it was probably a little more than a year ago, you kind of shared an experience with me where you said that you were driving down the street and you saw these 2 gentlemen that were walking down the street. I don't know if you remember this. And you said at the time it was myself and the current and that at the then, finance director. But I think that meant a lot to me, because I do agree with you that that's the kind of camaraderie and the neighborliness, that we should see in our community. And I know that, people are busy, and we're a 24-hour, we're a nonstop world now, between the internet and everything else. But I want to remind all of us that we're, basically 2 square miles. We're 9,300 people, and we're people who are here because we love this community, all of us. And so, and in my case, I do live here. So, I'm not just here for a job, it's here for something more. So I do hope that, we definitely can all work together. And I hope that each of us will be able to be present at the cleanup on October the 24th. Thank you.
And
All right.
Ron, before I give my time up, I want to say happy anniversary. I've been to 36, I'm at 52, so have fun.
That's a blessing. Thank you.
All right, moving on now.
I promise.
All right, we do have next on the agenda is the law director's report. I do not see Mr. Dieters present, so we will move on to the finance director. Ms. Hall, do you have a report?
I do not have a report today, but I do want to let you know that I will be sending out the monthly reports this week. I do apologize that it has taken me some time. It's no secret that I am understaffed, but I will be getting those reports out to everyone this week.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I have a question for Ms. Hall. Ms. Hall, I know that I think we may have received a budget. I don't know if it was like the specific one that goes all the way down to the line items. Was it the specific one or was it just kind of the overview? I just remember getting the overview one.
Okay. I did send out via email the presentation for the 2021 budget, but I also printed a working copy of the 2021 budget, which goes line item by line item, and it's in each council member's mailbox. What
Okay.
I could do, I mean, if you would like for me to email it to you, I can. But
No, I can go get it. It's fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the finance director?
Mr. President. Okay, I want to thank Miss Ari Hall for this wonderful computer has kept me in the meeting the whole time so far. Thank you.
You are welcome.
It's the little things that make her happy.
Mr. President, I would like to thank Ms. Hall for printing all of those copies of the budget.
Yeah.
That was greatly appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next on the agenda, call of members. Beginning with Ms. Bailey.
Hi guys, I don't really have anything tonight other than I will ask that everybody come help clean up North College Hill and stay safe.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Ms. Underwood, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would first like to say happy anniversary to Mr. Mosby. I am a family law attorney, so I would just like to say that it is amazing when I hear that people are married and they're happily married for that length of time. So happy anniversary and many more years to you. And also congratulations to Ms. Dewald, who has, when I see that, I know that there's good in the world because, I just see the bad. Also, I look forward.
We've only had 2 good years of marriage.
I am looking forward to the North College Hill cleanup day on October 24th. Thanks.
Ms. Underwood, I almost thought that you were selling me your services for it.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Mr. Miller Novak, you're up.
Yeah, I would just like to also congratulate Ron and Mrs. Mosby, and I guess we have another meeting before Halloween, but I just want to remind everybody just to stay safe, and if you're going to do it right and protect the kids as well as the adults that are with them. That's all I have today.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Zorb.
Sorry, elusive mute button. Again, I sound like I can't think of the word I want. Sound like everybody else. Sorry, I can't think of the best word. Mr. Mosby, congratulations. I would also like to add that I got an email from the Mill Creek Alliance, and apparently there's something called the Mill Creek Yacht Club. Sounds a little crazy, but they are having a paddle fest on October 17th. So you can either ride your bike down the trail and pick up trash, or you can get in a canoe or a kayak and pick up trash. So again, that is on October 17th. If anyone is interested, you can let me know. Actually, Ron, do you care if I send this to Miss Foley and she can post it on the website?
No, not at all.
Great, I will do that. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Zorb. And Ms. Hartman, you're up.
Did it? I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman. All right, that takes us to legislation. Ms. Dewald?
We have a first reading on Ordinance 6, an ordinance to establish salaries and staffing levels for city employees pursuant to the requirements of Section 3.06 of the City North College Hill Charter. I would like to add here, if I could, this is the revised edition, obviously, not the first one that you have all received. I don't know if that revised edition is, it should be in your mailboxes, and I believe I wrote revised in the upper left-hand corner, but I can't promise. We have a first reading on Resolution 16-2020, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate. We have a second reading on Resolution 15-2020, a resolution appointing members to the Community and Reinvestment Area Housing Council and the Tax Incentive Review Council. We have a second reading on Ordinance 10-2020, an ordinance to levy a permissive vehicle license tax. Oh, I'm missing some words. Wait a minute. I'm sorry about that. The agenda needs to be amended. We have Ordinance 10, an ordinance to levy a permissive vehicle license tax pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 4504.173. I will make that correction on the next agenda. And our last one, third reading on Ordinance 9, an ordinance to create a municipal tree advisory board.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 9-2020, an ordinance to create a municipal tree advisory board.
Mr.
Mr.
President,
President,
Ms. Underwood?
I will second that motion.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Zorb to accept Ordinance 9-2020 for the Tree Advisory Board with a second from Ms. Underwood. Discussion?
Sorry.
All right, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
motion passes.
Yes.
You
Call me Skippy.
Ms. Zorb.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Zorb.
Yes.
Well, motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is comments from the audience. I'm looking in the attendees list and we have no one. So we'll move on to old business. We do have one item on the agenda for old business around the backhoe.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I was tasked with following up with Mr. Mosby about the backhoe, so that's why I asked that it be placed on the agenda. Mr. Mosby, I just was, I guess, our committee was wondering if the backhoe, did that come out of the street levy fund, or how were we able to pay for the backhoe? That's what we were wondering.
Yeah, in our street levy fund, we did have monies that were already available that we had been set aside for capital improvement for this year. And so we were, myself, Ari, and Marty Cole, our public works supervisor, had discussed, what would be the best use of those funds before the end of the year. And so we went ahead and made the purchase of this of the backhoe. And if you all remember last meeting when we came when I came to council, Mr. Dieters had recognized that because we were using the state contract, that there wasn't that limit, and so we used the contract in order to make the purchase. And then there were a couple of additional small items that were not under the contract, but it was less than $5,000. Does that help, Ms. Underwood?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. We just usually as a part of the public safety committee, we discuss police, fire, and also highways, because that's a part of our committee. And I just was tasked with clarifying that. So, and I believe that you did. So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I think this kind of falls under old business. I'm not positive. I was curious to know if Mr. Mosby had a status of the motion to purchase the TV for people to go back into the city center.
I'm sorry. Yes and no. Yes, we did. I did talk with Ms. DeWald about that so that we could make the purchase. However, we have not made the purchase just yet.
Any other old business? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to new business. No new business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
if there's no new business, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
President,
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
before we adjourn, I do have a question. Just about the vacancies on council. I just don't think that with 5 members, I don't know how effective we're being. And I'm just kind of curious as to how that works, how the replacement works, if nobody if the committees don't replace the members within a certain amount of time. I'm just wondering how that works. Like what are the next steps? Like as a council, are we supposed to do something? I just want some input from the other members as to what happens next.
Mr. President.
Mr. Miller Novak.
Yeah, I mean, I can probably fill in a couple blanks for you there. I mean, they have everybody that's on the committee to elect of any of those candidates has, I believe it's 30 days. It's 5 to 30 days, I believe, to find and appoint somebody to fulfill that person's term. If someone didn't finish their first year, I think with Mr. Hedger, I think that's the case. So we might have to actually have another council seat up for election next year. I think we have to check with Mr. Dieters on that regarding whether or not, you know, if they were not to fill a spot, which has never happened, you know, since my local political consciousness. But theoretically, if that were to happen, then you'd have a true vacancy on a city council, and then city council as a whole, I believe, is able to nominate and vote to appoint somebody to fill a spot if the committee elect were not able to do that. So, but again, I've never seen that happen here.
President,
Ms.
Just-
Zorb?
I'd like to I'd like to make a little clarification. The committee, the replacement committee that is on the individuals, what's it called, the sign-in
Petition.
form. Thank you.
The petition.
Thank you. So that committee meets 5 days after the date of resignation, and then they have 45 days to fill that position. So
Okay.
there's even a gap in when the second position could be filled versus the first position, because the dates, one was on the 9th and one was on the 19th.
Mhm.
Okay. So, Ms. Sorb, after the 45 days, what happens?
We've never had that happen, so I don't know. And not looking for it to happen this time. How's that for an answer?
And to add on to something else Mr. Miller Novak said, Mr. Dieters did confirm that we will need the seat for Mr. Hedger will have to be election for a 2-year position at the next November election because of the vacancy coming in his first year.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak?
I forgot your last name was President for a second.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think what would occur in that circumstance, he might have elaborated with you, but would be that whoever out of the 5 people who had the most votes, whichever of the 5 had the least votes, I think would have the 2-year term, where the other 4 would have the 4-year term, I believe is how that would work too.
So, but Mr. President, I apologize. But his seat wouldn't stay vacant until the election, right? Like there's an appointment and then that person has to run, right? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. He would, whoever is appointed to take Mr. Hedger's place would fulfill his term just until the next general election, at which point in time he or she could run or not. But to make a long story short, in our next general election, instead of having the president of council's office as well as 4 council members, it'll be the president of council's office, 4 4-year terms, 1 2-year term.
Thank you all for that clarification.
All right, we do have a motion from Ms. Bailey to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second the motion.
Motion from Ms. Bailey, second from Ms. Underwood to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb.
Yes, thanks for not skipping me.
You're welcome. And Miss Hartman.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Dewald. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night.
I noticed that Elizabeth did say no.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Hey,
Motion passes 5-0.
don't want me to leave. Mute.
Me either, Tracy. Good night, maybe.